So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your first set of video notes. Feel free, if I go too fast, to pause. I hope you write this down in your notebook, and I'm just going to apologize if you hear my cat chirping in the background. He is that loud. So obviously, this is about the Pythagorean theorem. Hopefully you do remember this from middle school, Algebra 1, whatever the case may be. But if not, that's why we're going to do a quick review about this. This will help us with the things later on this week. So first and foremost, what is it? It's a formula. So hopefully we all realize that it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Tried and true for hopefully many years now. And then what kinds of shapes do we use it with? More specifically, what kind of triangle do we use it with? Give you a second there. Hopefully you're thinking that we use it with a right triangle. Not almost misspelled triangle. That's sad. As a refresher, when we're looking at the angles of triangles, there are three types. A right triangle, an acute triangle, and then an obtuse triangle. We'll talk about that here in a second. So then how do we set this formula up? Give you a second to think about that. What I mean by that is, so we have our triangle. More specifically, we have our right triangle. Where do our legs go? What do I mean by these letters? We have a leg, and then what's that funny name for this long side over here? Hopefully you remember that it's called the hypotenuse. But again, how do these letters fit in? Hopefully you realize, let's make it pretty. You realize that our legs are the A and the B, and the hypotenuse, which is always across from the right angle, is going to be side C. And you'll see that here again in a second. Again, if I go too fast, feel free to hit that pause button. So this first example, I have two legs with sides 9 and 10.8, 10.8, and a hypotenuse of x. So I'm just going to use the Pythagorean theorem, and I'm going to solve. I'm going to call 9 my A, and 10.8 my B, and this my C. So I'm going to plug and chug, as I like to say sometimes. So 9 squared plus 10.8 squared equals C squared. You can use Desmos, handy dandy calculator on your phone even. My personal calculator just died the other day, which was a very sad day in my life. So you're going to see me use this phone calculator. So on your iPhones, 9, and then you have to turn your phone sideways if you do squareds, because it's x squareds over here. So 9 squared equals 81 plus 10.8 squared. 10.8, hit that same button, gets me this funny number here. 116.64 equals C squared. So I'm just going to follow, notifications. I'm going to follow my order of operations and add these two numbers together. Equals, there we go. And I have 197.64 equals C squared. Is this my final answer? Hopefully we realize that it is not. I need to get rid of this squared. What's the opposite of squared? So we think back to last week when we were doing our algebra review. Addition, the opposite of addition, subtraction, and vice versa. The opposite of division is multiplication, vice versa. But what's the opposite of squared? And what's really nice on an iPhone, they're right by each other, right below each other. The opposite of squared is that square root button. So I'm going to hit that, and that's going to be my answer right there. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides, because what I do to one side, I got to do to the other. I'm going to get 14.06, let's round, equals C. And that's my answer. Moving along to example number 2. This triangle looks a little different. We'll ignore the fact I can't really draw. The legs and the hypotenuse, though, aren't going to change. That's why I say I always label my hypotenuse first. Whatever is across from the right angle is going to be side C. Then the other ones are going to be A and B. So in this case, I actually don't know my leg. So I got x squared plus 5.2 squared equals 9.3 squared. So I'm going to use my handy dandy calculator. 5.2 squared is going to give me x squared plus 27.04 equals 86.49. And this is part of the reason we started off with an algebra review. I need to get x by itself. So I need to do what is not attached to the x, so I need to get rid of this addition. The opposite of addition, hopefully we realize it's subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 27.04. What I do to one side, I must do to the other side of my equation. And when I put it into my calculator, I'm left with x squared equals 59.45. X is still not by itself, so I'm going to take the square root of both sides and get a final answer of x equals 7.71. When you round these answers, 2 decimal spots is good for us. Don't have to get too fancy past that. And again, if I go too fast, pause button's your friend. So for this one, we're going to find the area. Oh, pardon me. So first though, I got to find this missing side. So I'm going to label my hypotenuse, my C, and my A and my B. So I got A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And I fill it in with my information. A squared plus 16 squared equals 25 squared. Handy dandy calculator time. 16 squared is 256. 25 squared is 625. I'm going to subtract 256 from both sides. Well, make sure I hit the buttons right. Okay. And then I'm left with a squared equals 369. And again, I don't have my variable by itself, so I need to take the square root of both sides. And I'm left with an answer of 19.2. And I'm going to leave it like that because it's like 19 point, we'll say 21. We can get rid of the rest of that. And the reason I'm doing this step first is if I turn this triangle around, ignore that for now. So I now know that this is 19.21. Remember, my goal is to find the area. Now I have the information I need to find the area. Because remember the area of a triangle? Let's see, where can I fit this? The area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height, times the base times the height. I know a lot of people want to say that 25 is the base. That's not the case. That rhymed. That was unintentional. 16 is actually the base, and the 19.21 is going to be my height. So I'm going to take 1/2 times 16 times 19.21, and definitely use my calculator for this one. And I'm going to get a total answer of 153.16. Let's just put a unit on here, centimeters squared. Because remember, with area, it's going to be our units squared. Most of the time, I'll be smart enough to remember to give you units. Again, feel free to rewatch me do this problem if I'm going too fast for you. And the last kinds of problems, not as painful, at least in my opinion. I wrote too big, so I do apologize. If you have a triangle with side lengths 4, 5, and 8, what kind of triangle do you have? And if you recall me earlier mentioning an acute triangle, a right triangle, and an obtuse triangle, this is why I'm throwing this in here. So we're going to use the 3 sides and put it into the Pythagorean theorem. 4 and 5 being the smaller numbers, I know right away that that's my A and B. And my biggest number is going to be on the other side of my equal sign. So 4 squared plus 5 squared equals 8 squared. Now I know these numbers in my head, but again, you can always use a calculator. 4 squared equals 16, plus 5 squared equals 25, equals 8 squared, which equals 64. 16 plus 25 equals 41. However, that does not equal 64. Oh, pardon me. Because 41 does not equal 64, obviously, I need to figure out which side is the bigger one. Is it going to be my legs side, or is it going to be the hypotenuse side, the AB side, or the C side? Because it's the C side, this triangle is obtuse. Literally all you have to do for this kind of problem. My last example. If you have a triangle with side length 7, I write too big, 7, 8, and 10, what kind of triangle do you have? Same process. My 2 smaller numbers are going to be my legs, and my big number is my hypotenuse. So 7 squared is 49, plus 8 squared equals 64, 10 squared is 100. 49 plus 64 equals 113. This obviously does not equal 100. Oops, I didn't write doesn't equal. That's on me. So before, in this example, the C side was bigger. My hypotenuse side was bigger. Now, my legs are going to be bigger. Hopefully, we can see this quickly. So before, I had an obtuse triangle. Because that AB side is the bigger number, it's an acute triangle. And that's all you gotta do. As always, please reach out with any questions, concerns, whatever. We're here for you.